back to his
Orchestrated
shop,
everything,
gave
right
me a
there.
tire off of an old
Good morning, good morning. It's October the 16th of 2018. And we were just tying up yesterday's reading to today's reading and just marveling at how God does that. I think yesterday we talked about being thankful and thanking for things. Maybe actually that was my meeting with my the board with Elizabeth Inman Ministries. Good morning, Margot. Hi, Nelda. Good to see you guys. Anyway, yesterday we talked about being thankful in times when we wouldn't normally think to be thankful. That only comes from being spirit-filled. And in today's reading, again, I stepped back from the reading because we're in Jeremiah 28 and 29 and see what's required of God's man, Jeremiah. So he's got another prophet that's given a prophecy. And Jeremiah has to stand up and say, no, that's not from God. And you know how confident you have to be of yourself to do that? And so I just thought about, once again, I think throughout Jeremiah, for me, this has been a constant reminder that God doesn't just call us to the easy. He calls us sometimes to do the hard things. He quite often. It is my belief, after having read all the way through the Bible, I think this will be my 17th year, that God doesn't call us to easy, because if it was easy, we wouldn't need Him. That He's always going to stretch us beyond our comfort zone. He doesn't call us to be comfortable. He doesn't call us to not have to work hard. He doesn't call us to not have to do the uncomfortable things. And it couldn't have been comfortable for Jeremiah to call out Hananiah in his false prophet. Not only did God have him call him out and tell him it was a false prophet, he then has him tell him that he's going to die within a year. Whew. I just wonder, those of us that want to go deep in the Lord, we have no problem at all looking and saying, God wants to prosper you. He wants good things for you. I wonder how many times we miss the message. That's a hard message. I just wondered that this morning. But then it goes on to talk about, well, let me just read verse 9. Jeremiah 28:9. So a prophet who predicts peace must show he is right. Only when his predictions come true can we know that he is really from the Lord. Those are words to live by today. Careful who you're listening to. Careful who you're listening to. But then it goes on, and Jeremiah wrote a letter from Jerusalem to the elders and the priests and the prophets in chapter 29, and to all the people who had been exiled. Now remember, they had been exiled because of their sins against God. So this is who he wrote the letter to, and this is what he tells them. So now remember, who is God's people? We're making this relevant to today. So he's writing this to the Israelites, to God's chosen people back in that day. But who is he referring to now? He's referring to us, the believers, those who believe in Jesus Christ. We are his people. And so what he showed me today is he exiled them to Babylon based on their sins against him. I've spent my time in Babylon. My 20 years in the desert, what I often call being in the desert, I can now call being in Babylon. Well, I was exiled to Babylon because of my sins, because I chose to go against what I knew was in my heart was of God during my adult life. And today, he reckoned that for me as the type and shadow of the exile into Babylon. Well, that was my past, but this is 2018, and God didn't fail me this morning. He revealed to me, I've been sharing with you guys how God showed me, anytime I talk about worshiping Baal now, the idol Baal that is so prevalent throughout the Old Testament, that he, for me, for Elizabeth, very personal for me, he has showed me that I now get to insert the word need, because I worship the need instead of keeping my eye on the vision he's given me. I make it about the lack. Instead, I have in the past. I'm not going to anymore. That's how come he reveals this to me. He takes me to the root of what I'm doing, so that he can heal me, so that I'm no longer in that old behavior. And so for me now, Babylon represents those months when I'm wondering how I'm going to make payroll, and those months or weeks when I'm wondering, how am I going to pay the next bill? I'm wondering, I have had my moments of Babylon when I wasn't walking in faith with my daughter Carrie Dawn. Oh, am I ever going to be able to teach her? Is she going to get it? I mean, what parent doesn't do that with their children? Oh, they're just in this rebellious stage right now. But instead of releasing them to God and seeing the vision for their life, I mean, really and truly, how many of y'all have ever taken the time to still yourself about your children or your grandchildren and said, God, show me the vision for that child. Show me the vision for, you know what? He's given me a vision for Carrie Dawn. I have a vision for Carrie Dawn. He has given that to me. But what happens is when, she's a teenager and she acts like a teenager, I get to looking at those teenage things instead of the vision, and then worry and doubt sets in, and then extreme, when I continue in Babylon, when I continue in the exile, away from my vision, then it's, I failed her. I'm a horrible mother. I'm not what she needed. I know, I'm the only parent that does that, right? I'm the only one. But that's what he's showing me Babylon represents. So now, as we were talking at the table about being thankful, I want to read 29 verse 4. This is what the Lord of Heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says to all the captives he has exiled to Babylon from Jerusalem. So this is what he is speaking to anybody who gets your eyes off of him or get your eyes off of the vision. See, he is the vision. Vision and God are synonymous. They're the same. Because if it's a vision from God, boy, this is hard to understand or explain. If your vision is from God, it is God. Because it's never been about me, never has been, never will. It's not about you. Never has been, never will be. It's all about him. And so the vision is him. Anything that's from him, our eyes will be on him. So he'll manifest himself in the form of a restored mind for my daughter, in the form of a happy, healthy Carrie Dawn. That is my vision of Carrie Dawn. A clear mind that she thinks clearly and she's independent and she takes care of herself. That's my vision for Carrie Dawn, and that's my vision of him in my daughter. I hope I explained that where you're getting that. And so this is what the Lord of Heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says to all captives he has exiled to Babylon from Jerusalem. So right now, I just want you to stop and think, what's your Babylon? I mean, there's those of you who are arguing with your spouses. There are those of you who have a rocky relationship with a child. There are those of you that has a neighbor that you just haven't been able to get along with. There are those of you that are struggling with what your purpose in life is, that you have no meaning. You're battling depression. You're battling anxiety. You're battling all kinds of things. That's your Babylon. When you're looking at that, you're in Babylon, and you're not keeping your eyes on God. So this is what he says to you. In the middle of your battle. When you are on the side of the road at 9:30 at night with 2 blown out tires and you don't have the money for a tow truck, you don't, whatever, this is what he says to you. In Babylon, build homes and plan to stay. Plant gardens and eat the food they produce. And if that's not enough, he says to marry and have children. Then find spouses for them so that you may have many grandchildren. Multiply. Do not dwindle away, and work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. He is telling us, that's a promise right there, that in the worst trouble of our lives, he's with us. It feels as though we've been exiled to Babylon, but he's with us. And he's telling us, bloom where you're planted. He's telling us, be prosperous where you're at. He's telling us to get your eyes off of being exiled and back on to him. And so, as happened last night, the moment I walked up to the car, Larissa says, I've just been thanking him and thanking him. She'd just come from church. You know, here she is. She's a single woman out on the side of the road and had to call, somebody to come change a tire. And I go out there and I just been thanking him and thanking him. There she was right in the middle of exile. What could have been in exile. She didn't see it as an exile. Many of us would. If there was a time in my life, I would have, I'm on the side of the road. It's 9:30 at night. It's dark. I don't have anybody with me. I don't have enough. Oh my goodness. Let me count the money. How much money do I have? I know you're getting this. I know you're getting it. But he's telling us, you bloom where you're planted. You're in the middle of warfare. Keep your eyes on him. Keep your eyes on the vision. Keep your eyes on the purpose that he's put inside of you. See, only thing that changed with Jerusalem is where they lived. It didn't change who God was. The only thing that changed was their physical location. And when we start looking at the things that seem as though it's not of God, and we see God in the midst of our storm, all of a sudden the storm isn't nearly so bad. All of a sudden our storm isn't nearly so bad. And work for peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord, for its welfare will determine your welfare. How many stories have we heard of somebody who took themselves into exile by breaking the law, doing bad things? They go to prison and they start their very own prison ministry right in the middle of that prison. And then they come out and they continue that ministry. I mean, that's what this is talking about. That prison isn't the same once that person left. I mean, God took me to a place in my life a few years ago. We were going to church over here when God really took me here. That, you know what, I don't live my life in a way anymore that I ever worry that they're going to come and arrest me. I don't have to live, I don't live that way. But what if they did? What if they came into this home today because we're doing a Bible study and they took me to prison? What kind of an attitude would I have? Wrongly accused or rightly accused? What if they rightly accuse me? Oh, you're a follower of Jesus Christ and I'm in prison? And this is where he took me. And I was teaching Sunday school at the time. And he had me go to Sunday school and tell him, you know what? If today, on October the 16th of 2018, I end up in prison, today I would have to know that God is with me in that prison. And I have a purpose and a mission and a ministry right where I am. There was another time that out of the clear blue sky, and anybody that knows my husband knows I've got one of the most faithful, loyal men that I think's ever walked the face of the earth, and yet there was a time in my life that God told me to go to him and tell him and mean it. See, we're talking about God moments. God moments that this had nothing to do with Tom Inman. It had everything to do with me and my heart. that he had me go to him and tell him that if he cheated on me with 1,000 women, I'd never divorce him. God was doing a work in my heart about what marriage is. And it's clear in the Bible that divorce is not okay because of adultery. That is not God's heart. It's written down. Send me a private message and I'll share it with you. I'm not going to go there today because that's not what this is about. But the work inside of my heart, you see, in Babylon, he's with us. Inside of Babylon, we still have the same mission, the same purpose, because we have the same God inside of us. And how we leave that area of our life will determine what's on the other side of exile. Are we going to leave the battle, the struggle, the imprisonment, where I'm at in chains right now, better than when I came? Or am I going to let it drag me down? Let me read it to you again. This was so powerful to me. The reason I can pray, they steal our family tractor from us. They steal all of our farm equipment from us. And I can pray, and I can mean it, and I can say, I bless it and send it on. I bless it and send it on. And you know what? We got our tractor back. Praise God. There is no doubt in my mind at all. If I'd have gotten angry, if I'd have gotten bitter, if I'd have gotten mad, if I'd have continued on, would you mind getting that? Because I've got somebody that's called me 4 times. Could be an emergency. Thank you. That tractor would have been gone forever, but I blessed it and sent it on. Bless it, Lord. They must have needed it worse than us. See, how can I do that? How can I do? Because I've taken the time for 16 years to find out what my Father's heart is, and he tells me that in the middle of my exile to pray to the Lord for it, for the welfare of where I'm at in exile, and it will determine my welfare. It'll determine how well it is with my soul, how I can be in the middle of that. Bless it and send it on. Work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord, for its welfare will determine your welfare. That's some powerful stuff. I mean, most of us, and many times myself included, just got to get over feeling sorry for myself. We just spend all of our time feeling, oh, that temptation's so strong, I just can't quite overcome it. Oh, what if I give into it? What if I... And then, 1 Timothy 1 through 20 is our New Testament reading. And I've been praying, and I've got written down in my journals that he's been taking the ministry to a new level. He's been taking our business, which is his business, to a new level. We are out of exile around here, and I've been asking for a vision statement for Elizabeth Inman Ministries, and I got it in today's reading. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5. The purpose of my instruction is that all believers would be filled with love that comes from a pure heart, a clear conscience, and a genuine faith. So this is my vision statement that came out of today's reading. See, I emphasize this so that you guys understand why we take the time every morning to read. For me, this particular reading plan is because he meets me right where I'm at. He provides my needs right from these words every single day. He's faithful to me when I'm faithful to him, and I've been faithful to read every single day. And he met a need that I've been praying for about 3 weeks for, about a vision statement. And this is Elizabeth Inman Ministries' vision statement. All who believe will be filled with love that comes from a pure heart, a clear conscience, and a genuine faith. So Elizabeth Inman Ministries' vision is for all who believe to be filled with love that comes from a pure heart, a clear conscience, and a genuine faith. I couldn't wish anything better on anyone than that right there. And each word will speak to you if you allow it. All doesn't leave out anybody, first and foremost. Believe. That's our act of faith. We don't get it just because we wake up one morning and we have to activate our faith through belief, and then to be filled. If they're filled with love, they're filled with God. That's what I ask for everybody. I want everybody to be filled with God, filled with love that comes from a pure heart. When you have a pure heart, you are peaceful. It's the peace that surpasses understanding. And a pure heart, we'll seek a pure heart until God has taken everything out of it that's darkness. He's still extracting things. I mean, for crying out loud, he just got through telling me in the last month I worship Baal, that I worship me. That do you know how much deliverance came out of that? That this junk in my heart got pulled out when that happened. And a clear conscience, again, a new level of peace. A pure heart is one level, but a clear conscience is a whole new level of peace. If there's one thing I could take from my heart and give to every person I love, it would be the peace that I have, that I lay my head on the pillow at night and my mind doesn't race 1,000 miles an hour and I can't go to sleep like it used to. For years I lived that way. For years I lived that way. And I can go to bed and go to sleep. I have peace. And a genuine faith. It takes faith to please God. So girls, I think that's the perfect mission statement. Anyway, so powerful reading for me this morning. I hope that it blessed you in some way, and I hope it encourages you to continue to read. First of all, I hope it encourages you to pray. The first step is to pray. God's a gentleman. He's not going to force himself on you. And then to be still and listen. If I hadn't got still this morning, I wouldn't have got what I got out of the reading. And then to read. When we're faithful, he's faithful to us. So God bless you all on this terrific Tuesday. I hope you have a great day.